An ordinary morning. You are running through the village when the royal recruiters arrive on horseback. They line everyone up. They are not looking for the strongest. They are looking for something else entirely. Sharp eyes, quick answers, a tongue that notices things others miss. They find all three in you. You are selected. Not for the army, not for the fields, for something far more dangerous and far more prestigious. The palace gates open for the first time. You will never see your village the same way again. Training begins immediately. Languages, chemistry, botany, the art of knowing what is in a dish before you swallow. Your instructors tell you the same thing every day. Your tongue is the king's shield. Never forget that. Years pass inside those stone walls. You learn to taste bitterness behind sweetness, death behind flavor. The day finally comes. A master tailor measures you for your livery, deep burgundy, gold trim, the royal crest on your chest. You are no longer a village boy. You are the royal food taster. The last line between the king and his enemies. The job sounds simple. Taste the food before the king eats. If you survive, he eats. If you don't, he doesn't. Every dish arrives sealed with wax. The seal is broken only in your presence. This is the ritual. Every single meal. The banquet hall falls silent when you lift the silver spoon. Every eye in the room is on your face. You taste the roasted pheasant, the saffron soup, the almond cream. Each bite could be your last. The king watches you eat before he eats. This is what power looks like from the inside, layered in paranoia. The salary is extraordinary. Every 3 months, a purse of gold coins arrives at your chamber door. Your chamber is inside the palace itself. No rent, no hunger. Royal physicians check your health weekly. When the king travels, you travel. The finest tent, the safest escort. You eat what kings eat because you must. But freedom? That is the one thing the salary cannot buy. The palace gates open for royals. For you, they are a gilded cage. Still, even the Grand Chancellor bows his head slightly when he passes you in the corridor. Your position commands that. Years pass in this rhythm. Taste, survive, repeat. You become the longest-serving taster in the palace's history. New tasters are brought in. Some last months. One lasted a single week. You train them all. You teach them the shift system. Poisons don't always act instantly. Some take 15 minutes, some take an hour. Multiple tasters taste different dishes simultaneously. If one falls, the others catch the danger before it reaches the king. You know every poison used in Renaissance Europe by name, by symptom, by the time it takes to kill. Arsenic, the king of poisons, tasteless, odorless. It was so common among European nobility they called it inheritance powder. Belladonna, beautiful to look at, deadly to consume, dilates the eyes just before it stops the heart. Hemlock, the same poison that killed Socrates. It paralyzes the body while the mind stays perfectly aware. You imagine it sometimes as stood being conscious but unable to move, watching the room, unable to cry out, until the lungs stop. Against these threats, you develop your own rituals. Silver utensils first. Legend says some poisons turn silver black. You smell before you taste. You observe color. You note texture. Every sense is a weapon in this profession. The palace kitchen is the most controlled room in the kingdom. Only cleared staff, no exceptions, ever, and yet it has happened before. A bribed cook, a switched ingredient, a moment of carelessness that changed history. You are now the chief taster. You manage the shift rotations. You approve every cook. You inspect every delivery of ingredients. You are no longer just a shield. You are the entire defense system, the gastronomy and security general of the crown. With power comes attention, and not all of it is welcome. One evening, a duke's envoy approaches you in the corridor. He presses a velvet pouch into your hand, heavy with coins. Look away from tonight's venison, he whispers. Then he walks away. You hold the pouch for a long moment. This is the moment every taster eventually faces. Gold or loyalty. You place the pouch on the king's own desk before the evening meal. He looks at it, then at you. He says nothing, but you see it in his eyes. From that night, you sleep with a blade under your pillow. Loyalty in a palace of vipers is its own kind of sentence. The king is aging now. His appetite shrinks. His temper grows. The court factions sharpen like knives around a weakening throne. Princes eye each other across banquet tables. Dukes whisper behind goblets. Alliances form and dissolve like morning frost. Everyone in this palace wants something. The only man who wants nothing, who has sworn to want nothing, is you. That is precisely why the king trusts you and why everyone else fears you. A military campaign is announced. The king will ride to war, and where the king goes, you go. The siege stretches for months. The camp smells of gunpowder and mud. The king's health deteriorates in the cold. Inside the royal tent, tension is unbearable. Half the court wants peace. The other half wants the king dead and a new reign begun. You taste every meal twice in the field. Poison is easier to deliver in a chaotic camp than in a controlled palace kitchen. One cold September evening, a special medicinal broth is prepared. The royal physician orders it. For the king's weakening constitution. The broth arrives sealed. You break the seal yourself. You lift the silver ladle. The room holds its breath. The first sip tastes clean, warm, herbed. You take a second sip. Still nothing. You nod. The king reaches for his bowl. Then it begins. A burning in the throat. Not heat, something sharper. The unmistakable bitter almond on the back of your tongue. Cyanide. Fast-acting. Lethal in minutes. Someone had found a way through every system you had built. The world begins to tilt. Your legs go first, but your arms still work. One final act remains. You sweep the bowl from the king's hands. It shatters across the tent floor. Silver spoons spinning in the candlelight. The king stares at you. You stare back. In that final second, everything is understood between you without a single word. You collapse. The tent erupts into chaos. Guards draw swords. Physicians rush in, but you already know. The king kneels beside you on the cold ground. A king on his knees for you. This is the last thing you see. History books will record that the king died of natural causes years later, in his bed, surrounded by his heirs. They will not record the name of the man who made that possible. They rarely do. Now let's step back. Because the royal food taster is not a legend. This was a real profession across all of European history. From the courts of medieval France to Renaissance Italy to the Tudor palaces of England, every major monarch had one. The role had different names. A chanson in France, assaggiatore in Italy, poison tester in the bluntest English translation. The Medici family of Florence was so feared for poisoning that the term Medici poison entered the vocabulary of all of Europe. Catherine de' Medici brought Italian poisoning techniques to the French court when she married Henry II in 1533. She arrived with her own perfumer, René the Florentine, who was widely believed to be her personal poisoner. Suddenly, the enemies of the French crown began dying of mysterious illnesses, one by one, very conveniently. The taster's job was not just survival, it was intelligence. A taster who recognized a poison could name its source. King Henry VIII of England had multiple tasters. He was so paranoid about poison that food was prepared under constant guard. Every person who touched royal food, from the farmer who grew it to the cook who prepared it, was monitored and documented. The most common poison in Renaissance Europe was arsenic trioxide, white arsenic. virtually undetectable, tasteless, colorless. It was sold openly in apothecary shops as rat poison, which is why it was also called, with grim humor, inheritance powder. Families used it to speed up inconvenient deaths, parents, husbands, rivals, a little in the wine, a little in the soup. The symptoms mimicked natural illness: fever, stomach pain, weakness. By the time a physician suspected poison, it was too late. Against arsenic, the taster had almost no defense, only time, and the hope that the dose was too small to kill quickly. Some tasters developed partial immunity by consuming tiny doses of poisons over years, a practice called Mithridatism, named after King Mithridates VI of Pontus, who allegedly consumed small amounts of poison daily to build resistance. When he was finally captured by Rome and tried to poison himself, it didn't work. He had to ask a soldier to run him through. The irony of immunity. You survive the poison, and that survival becomes its own kind of trap. Back to the European courts. The most dangerous moment for any monarch was not the battlefield. It was the banquet table. More European rulers died from poisoned food and drink than from any single battle in the medieval and Renaissance period. Pope Clement II, poisoned. Holy Roman Emperor Henry VII, poisoned at communion. Eric XIV of Sweden, poisoned in his porridge. The dining table was a battlefield with no armor, no sword, and no warning. Only the taster stood between life and death. And yet the taster's name was almost never recorded. History remembers the kings. It forgets the men who died for them. The salary compensated for the risk, partly gold, lodging, status, but no amount of gold makes a spoonful of hemlock easier. The psychological toll was immense. Every meal a potential execution, every new cook a potential assassin, every seal a question mark. Some tasters requested retirement after a decade, shaking hands, hypervigilance, unable to eat in public without checking every dish. Others served for life because the palace had become the only world they knew. Freedom felt more dangerous than the poison. The role evolved over centuries. By the 18th century, tasters in major courts had become ceremonial rather than functional. But the position never fully disappeared. Even today, world leaders travel with food security teams that perform essentially the same function. The U.S. president's meals are tested before consumption. So are those of the British monarch. The methods have changed. The principle hasn't. What started in medieval stone halls continues in modern motorcades. Power has always attracted poison, in every era. Back to that September tent, the king survives, the assassin is eventually found, a bribed physician in the royal camp. 3 dukes are implicated in the plot. 1 is executed. 2 flee to rival courts. The succession stabilizes. A monument is not built for the taster. There is no tomb with his name. History moves on, indifferent as always, but in the palace kitchens among the cooks and stewards who knew, his name is spoken in a different tone, not with grief, with something closer to awe. He tasted death 1,000 times before it finally found him. He started as a village boy with sharp eyes and a quick tongue. He ended as the invisible pillar of an empire. The most dangerous job in the kingdom had no glory, no statue, no medal, just a silver spoon and an unbreakable oath. Some people carry the weight of empires in their hands. This man carried it in his mouth, 1 spoonful at a time.